So, we have made videos about cars that were underrated and overrated, and made videos about the most hated cars in the game. But what about cars that were not hated but simply just disappointment? What do I mean by disappointments? They did not live up to their hype or simply failed to impress people. Take for example the Bugatti. People were hyped to get it in the game. It is one of the fastest cars in the world in real life. People were excited to get their hands on it, only for it to not live up to expectations in any way. This is not to say the car is bad, because it really isn't, but what people are saying is that it just wasn't what they thought it would be. All this to say that in today's video, I am bringing you all the top 10 cars that are disappointments to me in Need for Speed Unbound Part 1, plus honorable mentions. These cars are brought to you all via my opinion and how I think about them performance wise. It has nothing to do with anything cosmetic. Also, because I am primarily a drift racer, I have a few of them tuned to drift, so if they handle better in grip, by all means you can let me know down in the comments below. But if a car is good, it should be able to be driven at least comfortably in both. This video does correlate with the new community post that I dropped earlier today asking the same question, so if you guys want to let me know the cars you are disappointed in, then go right ahead. It will be a video or two depending on how many answers I get, but I wanted to share mine first while waiting for you guys to share yours. If you all enjoy, make sure to go ahead and drop a like and subscribe. And yes, we are getting back into the streaming scene, but it won't be as active as it was before due to me prioritizing YouTube content every day for you all. But I still would appreciate some love over there, so if you have a Twitch, make sure to follow me to keep up with the live streams. Intro is a little long, but hey, it is what it is. Let's hop straight into the video. The first car is the Honda S2000. I thought this thing would be a beast in lower tiers, especially in A and A+. I was sadly mistaken. One thing I cannot stand is when a car appears to be fully maxed out in a tier and have some of the best parts available, including the engine, and then all of a sudden when you use it, it is complete crap. That is the best explanation I can give about the S2000. Thankfully, the price isn't too steep, because if it was, I would 100% recommend everyone to not even waste your time trying to build it. The car handles terribly. It might be one of the worst handling cars in the entire game, and I am not exaggerating. It may be up there with the Drift Porsche GT3 RS, which is saying something insane. 80% grip can be a death sentence sometimes, and when trying to push this car as hard as you can really feel how it's not fully at 100. The power this car has can be described as Miata syndrome, where it will bolt off the line, you think it's gonna smoke other cars, and then reality comes and hits you in the back of your head, and you see every other car, trucks included, start to pass you as your car struggles to hit the next gear. Let me be the first to tell you guys that this is the car that made me understand that power numbers are very deceiving in this game. Just because a car has good numbers doesn't mean jack. The build I currently have for the S2000 has it sitting at 506 horsepower and 505 torque. It has a top speed of 188, but good luck getting there when you actually need it. Hondas in this game are in general, so the brand really needed a big win, and sadly that is not the S2000. Now the NSX on the other hand is what I feel the S2000 should have been regarding the performance. They don't have to be equal, but at least be close. The next car I have on the list is the Mercedes-AMG C63 Coupe. If T's was a car, it would be this, and this car hit me extra hard because it was one of my dream cars in real life. The one thing that should have told me that this car might not be anything special is the fact that you can use it as a rental. But then again, the Ford GT is a rental in S+, and we all know how good that thing cooks in S. Speaking of S tier, that is what I built this car in and tuned it for drift. All I can say about that is it was a mistake. Now, I have not tried this car in lower tiers or in S+, as that just wouldn't even make any sense. But from what I've tried in S, the car just simply doesn't know what it wants to be. For the handling, think if a grip car had an identity crisis and didn't know if it was supposed to be grip or drift. In order for this car to even attempt at starting a micro drift, you need to basically be making it do a full drift, which defeats the entire purpose. I kid you guys not. Even with using the brake to try and maintain a bit more stability when trying to micro drift, it does not work. On top of that, when it does drift, the angle it goes at is beyond disgusting, and not in a good way. Once again, power numbers can be a lie, because this thing is pushing 800 plus horsepower and 900 plus torque, only for it to immediately start spinning at its wheels at the start and just stay there. Everyone else is driving away doing the race approaching 15-20%, and you are just now picking up speed still at the starting line. This is another one of those cars that seems to just lose power as soon as you get around the 160 mark. Keep in mind that this is an S class, where 160 is not enough to be cooking 99% of the time. We briefly spoke about the Porsche GT3 RS earlier, and now it has a whole section dedicated to it in this video. What a disappointment this car was. I don't think anyone in the community expected this car to be as bad as it is, and I'm actually sad thinking about how this car could have been an absolute beast in S tier. The first thing I want to warn everyone of with this car is don't try and put it in drift. The thing handles so weird it is ridiculous, even at a max of 20%. Some of you guys might might be thinking, well, duh, it's at 20%, but 20% in drift tuning and 20% in grip tuning are two completely different things. In 20% grip, you are bound to lose a bunch of control because your car basically has no grip. But with 20% drift, that is still a relatively good number to sit around depending on what cars you are driving. For example, my S5 is at 25% drift and handles just fine. Try to build an S5 at 25% grip and let's see what happens. But anyway, it will have absolutely a bad time trying to micro drift as the back end just loves to spin out very easily. It does hold speed well and can get to a good top speed pretty easily as long as you are getting boosts, so that's not really the problem. The problem is that this car is just not up there where I thought it honestly would be. If I'm going to be honest, the GT3 should be up there with the likes of the F40 and the 4GT, even if a tad bit slower than them. The place it is at now screams nothing but a disappointment though. The fourth car on the list is the Lamborghini Urus. First of all, the handling on this car was broken for the longest time and it had no sliders to adjust the steering sense or the downforce, so that was something all by itself. Now, this is by no means saying that I expected an SUV to not act like an SUV. I get that it is a big car and weighs a ton, but should it be on the level it is now? No. This car was built for S and has over 1,000 in horsepower and in torque, and it's all-wheel drive. There is no way that other cars in its caliber should be beating it, and honestly should be beating cars above its caliber as well. Plus, the handling on this car is not the greatest, and it took me a very long time to even get it to a point where I could drive the car correctly. It micro drifts decently well and has the drift angle it takes, and that's okay, but the control you have over the car should be way better considering it's all-wheel drive. It is nothing like the S2000 and the GT3 where the back will spin out in every single movement you make, but the Urus back can still spin out, which doesn't even make any sense considering it is not rear-wheel drive and the fact it weighs so much. In my opinion, this car should have been a heavier Maybach or handled like the Testarossa, but a bit slower. But the thing is, the cars feel nothing alike. As heavy as the Ford Raptor is, that thing slaps and can move way better than the Urus. Micro drifts nice. If anything, that car has exceeded expectations. This car was hyped up as the fastest SUV ever made, and it has to be farther from the truth than Unbound. Even the Land Rover can move better than this thing. If the Urus is in the game next time, we gotta make it a bit better. The fifth car on this list is the Infiniti Q60S. I have had this thing built for A, but have had it built for higher tiers before, and all I can say about this thing is, it is crap. The thing is a brick, which can be fine, because once again, look at the Rossa, look at the Ford Raptor. But what separates those from the Infiniti is that they are actually good and can actually be fast. This thing is a brick and moves like one too. Just like the Urus, I am not saying I expected this thing to be a beast, but I at least expected it to be better than what it currently is in the game. I mean, there is nothing this car can excel at. Not having a good top speed, no good handling, nothing. If a Maybach can be good and have good performance, why couldn't this car? I mean, you have cars like the S5, the Porsche Taycan, the Panamera, even the Bel Air that can be chosen on the track and absolutely go crazy on it. A missed opportunity to have Infiniti not be at least decent in this game. To make matters worse, it is the only one in the entire game. I feel at that point, it is an obligation of the dev team to make it at least stand out. For everyone who has not bought this car, you are not missing anything, I promise. A few honorable mentions that are not going to be in part 2, but I still wanted to talk about are the McLaren F1, the Jaguar F-Type R Coupe, the Dodge Charger Hellcat, and the Lamborghini Countach. All of these cars didn't make it to the main 10 because even though they let me down, the others that will be in tomorrow's video let me down even harder. Some of these cars should be top tier like the McLaren F1 and the Lamborghini. The F1 was literally the second best car in the entire game on heat. Why did it fall off so hard in this game? Then we have the Lamborghini, which is getting beat by cars that are under its class and by cars it's supposed to be able to hang with. But you know what? Let me stop before I go on another rant. If you all enjoyed, make sure to go ahead and drop a like and subscribe, and I will see you all in the next video.